Hey guys, it's Haley and I make videos around how to be a better guitarist and have more fun and feel inspired as a creative. In this video, I wanted to show you how to create little solo elements when you are playing acoustic by yourself. This summer, I had a lot of acoustic gigs that it was just me and then vocals and cajon. And sometimes not even cajon. So there was a lot of times that I would be playing and there was like a 8-bar space that was like for a solo. But if you've ever soloed on acoustic, it can feel very awkward to drop out and like play in your pentatonic scale or like actually play a solo, because something has to be keeping the rhythm going, keeping the chords going, and not make it feel like everything's just gone. So in this video, I wanted to give you 3 super simple ideas that you can do at pretty much any level for playing acoustic when you are playing it by yourself. So let's go ahead and get into just a few tips that I have. So before we start, here are a few very simple tips that you can use. So the first and the biggest thing that I like to prioritize is making sure that I hit the note or chord right on the beat, and then you can kind of add whatever creativity you want in the middle of those chords. So for example, if I'm playing a D, a B minor, and a G here, making sure in my chord progression, say if I go D, and then I can do whatever noodle I want here, B minor, do whatever I noodle I want between, and then making sure that basically those just land right as they're supposed to. So that way it doesn't have that awkward, what are you doing kind of moment of this. My next tip for this, and this is going to be different depending on your level, but if you are somebody that you are primarily a singer-songwriter and you're just playing acoustic to kind of accompany yourself, my biggest thing would just be keep it simple, and you can always have fun with your rhythm hand here. So if you are playing, for example, your solo, and most of your songs been like this. So now we're getting to the solo. You could do like some fun fills. A few sort of different rhythm elements, it makes it sound a little bit more like, here's my solo, pay attention to my guitar. So again, if you are more advanced, you can start going, more towards your Tommy Emmanuel solos or whatever you want to do. But that is my tip if you are more of a kind of simple beginner-ish guitarist. So the first thing that you can do just to sort of spice up that, I'm going to be using that same chord progression, D, B minor, and G. So the first thing that you can do is just look at your chord shapes and beforehand just work out some simple noodles that you can do around each one of those. So say I was doing my D, if you wanted to do something like this. So really, really simple, just some pull-offs. And to break down that, it just is like this. 2 on E, open, 3 on B, 2, open G, and then 4 on D, 2 on D, open, 2 A, and then back to that open D. So I'm landing on the note that I am on that chord. So landing on my D note, so. And then I can go right into that B minor. So now for my B minor, say I want to just kind of keep this one simple, I could go just maybe like a little suspended situation here. And this is technically a D over B minor here, so D over B. If I just do something as simple as moving my 3rd fret down to my 2nd fret on my B string. And then for my G, I could just do a simple G, and then maybe I could just do a little fill coming out of that after I've already played that chord. So if you wanted to do that, like it would just be open A, hammer on to 2, A, D string, 2 on D, open D, 2 A, and then open D, 2 hitting that G note again as I'm ending, like wrapping it all up, and then go back to the D. And for this type of thing, you could be as creative as you want in what chord shape that you noodle around. So it doesn't have to be an open D shape. You could do maybe a D bar chord shape. So if you did like, or something like that. So you could kind of figure out, all right, could I maybe change into bar chords and do some little solo elements around that, as long as we're hitting that chord or note right where it's supposed to. My next idea for you is playing some simple suspended chords. This, I think, is a really easy way to make it sound like you were at least doing something. So say I was doing a D chord here, I could go, and then I could go to the D sus4, sus2, and back to D. So I could go like, or something like that. And then just kind of moving that down how I wanted to. And then switching into my G chord, if I did like G, and then maybe I did a G sus4. By going up here to the 3rd fret of the A string, so like. And I think that this is a great way to start if you are a bit more of a beginner, because it's only like a 1 note change and you can kind of practice doing something a little off of your chord and then getting back into it before you're fully going into like licks or soloing. My last very simple tip for you is just switching into alternate voicings. And by that, I mean just different ways of playing your chords. So if I was playing my D chord, I could play maybe a different way of doing that, like this. And it doesn't have to be like all the exact same notes. Like it could be like a D9 or something like that. So here's an idea for that specific chord progression. If I was playing my D, I could go, if you just slide your C up 2 frets, so it now starts on that D note. That's a fun way to do a different type of D. And then say I wanted to do a different way of doing my B minor here. I could go into maybe this way, so like an open bar chord, where it's starting on 2, 4, 4, open, open. And then going into my G, I think, okay, what other ways do I know playing my G? So one thing I like to do is slide my D chord shape up. So here's my D note. So D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. So if I start it right here, this is my G root note. And then I could go back into my chord progression. So let's just play, if I was to play those types of chords for this instead. So here is my D substitute right here. It just gives it a different sound. So even though I'm keeping the same thing with my rhythm hand, still playing chords, it's just something different that I've been doing. So I hope that these ideas help you. I know some of those concepts I might have kind of flown through kind of the idea of them, but I think that is the main thing, is just sort of experimenting around and taking that little extra time before your gig to really think, okay, like that song, I always have that 8-bar solo. Let me think of a few creative ideas that I can add in just to do something different and add in maybe that element of surprise and uniqueness in my playing. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and please leave your comments below. I would love to know if you have any ideas when you are soloing of things that are really simple that work well for you when you're playing acoustic.